Hi, this is David McCann for WebTNG. In this video, I'm doing a performance comparison of Advanced Custom Fields, or ACF, and Meta Box. ACF and Meta Box are the two most widely used solutions for creating custom post types and adding custom fields to WordPress websites. In this video, I'm going to be doing a simple comparison using the Query Monitor plugin to look at the amount of memory used and the number of queries used in rendering a page. Here is the Advanced Custom Fields plugin, the free version on WordPress.org. You can see it has more than 2 million active installs. Huge number of active installs, very popular. Okay, it's got 1,113 5-star reviews and 48 out of 51 support issues resolved in the last 2 months. If we go and take a look at their website, this is the website for Advanced Custom Fields Pro. And in addition to the features that come with the free version of Advanced Custom Fields, Pro adds a repeater field, ACF blocks, the flexible content field, option pages, the gallery field, and the clone field. Okay, so a lot of good features in Advanced Custom Fields Pro. If we look at the pricing, it's annual pricing, one website for $49 a year, 10 websites for $149, and unlimited websites for $249. Now this is the Meta Box plugin on WordPress.org, the free library. We can see that it has more than 700,000 active installs, has 131 5-star reviews, and 1 out of 1 support issue has been resolved. This is the Meta Box website, and let's see, in addition to the basic features of Meta Box, it comes with a number of extensions. So it has integration for Divi, toolset migration, support for rank math, ACF migration, admin columns integrator, MetaBox views, which is very powerful, search WP integration, MetaBox blocks, Elementor integration, Beaver themer integration, a user profile, relationships between post terms and users, Facet WP integration, custom tables, comment meta, revisions, front-end post submission, user meta, REST API, geolocation, admin columns, term meta, settings pages, custom post types, Yoast SEO, text limiter, conditional logic, grouping fields, the MetaBox builder, MetaBox template, tooltips, showing and hiding, columns, tabs, and include and exclude. Now, if we look at the pricing, we see that there's annual pricing for unlimited sites with 12 of those extensions, annual pricing for unlimited sites with all of their extensions, and then a lifetime option for unlimited sites and all extensions. There's also personal plans, $49 a year for one site, 12 Pro extensions, $99 a year for 3 sites, all Pro extensions, or $299 a lifetime for 3 sites, all Pro extensions. So those are the website and the plans. So now let's go and start our comparison. My motivation for this video actually began because I saw in a Facebook group some people talking about a comparison of Advanced Custom Fields and Meta Box. And they mentioned that they had compared the free versions of Advanced Custom Fields and Meta Box using this tool, WP Hive. And what WP Hive does is it looks at plugins that are available on WordPress.org and it has a standard server configuration, and it installs and activates them and then tests the memory and speed on different pages. So it's kind of some automated testing, and you get apples to apples comparison. However, there's something that this comparison of advanced custom fields in Meta Box overlooks, where a WP Hive comparison in this case is not appropriate. And I'm going to show you why, and it'll be part of understanding the difference in performance between advanced custom fields and Meta Box. But first, let's look at what this comparison shows us. Okay, on memory usage, you can see that advanced custom fields, they say that when you activate it, it uses about 989 kilobytes of memory, almost a megabyte of memory. Meta Box, when you activate it, about 48 kilobytes. And you see this red here indicates that the numbers are worse than most of the plugins on WordPress.org. So this looks like kind of a big deal. Everything for ACF is red and Meta Box is green, right? And what you have here after the memory is the amount of memory used to render different pages in the WordPress admin. Meta Box comes out here as a clear winner according to this comparison. And then they have some other comparisons here for page speed. And so ACF is about 4/10 of a second, but Meta Box is about 4/100 of a second. There are these speed tests here. And again, Meta Box comes out as the winner. Here you can see that in their kind of summary, ACF had an impact on memory and page speed, and Meta Box didn't. Okay, so by looking at this comparison, you would think, wow, it's really clear. Meta Box is much more performant than advanced custom fields. I said I was going to show you that this comparison isn't really complete enough to make that assessment based on this. And so we're going to go a little deeper. And so let's do that now. What I did in preparing for this video is I created 2 test sites on InstaWP, one for ACF testing and another one here for Meta Box testing. They're using the same 2023 theme. Okay, and if we go and look at the posts, there's only the Hello World post. There's nothing in the media library, and there are these sample page and privacy page that we get with the default WordPress install. And then there are no plugins installed. Here's the Meta Box version. Okay, there is only the Hello World post. There's no media, and just the 2 pages that are installed with WordPress and no plugins. Okay, so now I'm back on the ACF site, and I'm going to add the Query Monitor plugin, and we'll activate that. Okay, and now we're going to go to the front end to the sample page. All right, and you can see up here the Query Monitor summary. They're saying it took 3.9 megabytes of memory to render this page and 22 queries. I'm going to put these numbers into a spreadsheet and we'll do a comparison at the end. But let's keep going now and just compare what we have. Okay, I'm going to go now to the Meta Box version and add Query Monitor here. Okay, and we'll go to the front end to the sample page, and we see here 3.9 megabytes, 22 queries. Okay, so it's the same base. We're starting at the same point for both sites. All right, now let's go to ACF, a site, and let's add advanced custom fields. We'll activate it. We'll go back to the sample page. And here we see now we've jumped to 4.9 megabytes and 24 queries. A pretty big jump in memory there, kind of along the lines of what we saw in the Hive WP comparison. Let's go to the MetaBox site and install the MetaBox plugin. We'll go now to the sample page, and we see that that is recording 4 megabytes and 22 queries. Very small increase in memory and no increase in queries. People who are familiar with ACF and MetaBox are probably smiling to themselves right now, and I'm going to show you why. And this is why the WP Hive comparison kind of doesn't make sense, but we're going to go beyond WP Hive. And that is, let's go to the dashboard, and we go to plugins here. We see there's MetaBox, but there is no admin menu here for MetaBox. Okay, so this is just a core library for creating MetaBoxes and custom fields. It doesn't have any of the UI pieces in it, and it doesn't have any of the advanced features built into it. Okay, now if we go and we look at the Advanced Custom Fields website, we see we have an admin menu here for Advanced Custom Fields. We can create field groups. We can create post types. We can create taxonomies. We can create option pages. Oh, that requires ACF Pro, so that's kind of a teaser. And then it has some tools here. My point is that, yes, ACF is using a lot more memory and a couple of extra queries, but the ACF MetaBox comparison of the plugins on WordPress.org isn't valid because ACF is bringing many more features into the admin than MetaBox. Okay, MetaBox is just a core library to build on. So anyway, that's the first comparison here that I wanted you to see. And while the WP Hive comparison is useful in many circumstances, it's not in this one. But let's keep going and let's do a comparison that'll give us more in-depth and better information. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually install the Pro versions of ACF and MetaBox, and we'll check the memory and number of queries then again. And this will give us some more information about the characteristics of these two plugins. So I'm going to go to the plugins directory. I'm going to deactivate the free version and delete it. Okay, I'm going to upload the Pro version and enter my license key. So I'll pause the video while I do that. Be right back. Okay, I've installed the Pro version of ACF and entered my license key. Here it is here. When you enter the license key, then you're eligible for updates. So let's update. All right. Now we go back. We have the exact same interface here, but now, of course, you can use the option pages. I think that's a false positive there. Let's go back to our sample page now. And let's take a look. And we've jumped up now to 5.1 megabytes with ACF Pro installed and 25 queries. We've added more memory and a couple more queries. Now let's go for MetaBox. I don't need to deactivate and remove MetaBox because this is the core library. And so the Pro version, the extensions that we looked at, they build upon this. So I'm going to pause the video again, and I'm going to install from the MetaBox, what you have when you purchase Pro, an extension called All-in-One, which gives you access to all those extensions we saw in the admin where we can just turn on and off the ones we want. So be right back. Okay, so I've installed MetaBox Pro All-in-One, and I've activated my license. Let's go and do the update for MetaBox. Okay, so we'll update, and that's on the latest version now. If you know about MetaBox and you've used it before, you're probably grinning again, but let's go and take a look at the sample page. And whoa, we're at 5.9 megabytes for MetaBox and 34 queries. So usage of MetaBox has jumped up also, and we've got even more queries. What's going on? Well, remember what we installed for MetaBox is this all-in-one plugin. And that gives us access to all of the Meta Box features. Okay, so right now we're not an apples to apples comparison with ACF again, but this time it's because Meta Box has many more features active than Advanced Custom Fields Pro. It's a little bit difficult maybe to figure out exactly which features to have on here to be one-to-one comparison with ACF. I'm going to make a shot at it. I'll probably err on the side of having a couple of extra things enabled here that maybe ACF doesn't have. But we can turn off the migration for sure. Admin columns, display fields and table columns in the admin screens for all posts. That seems good. Blocks, that would be something. Comment meta, post types. Custom table, that's not something that ACF offers at all. There is a third-party extension from HookTurn for custom tables, but not part of ACF. MetaBox has front-end submissions. You can submit custom post-type records from the front end. Rank math, compatibility, relationships, the REST API, revisions. So I don't think ACF has that. Settings page, that's like the options page. Term meta. Okay, we wouldn't have tool set, user meta, user profile. This is where you can create user profiles for the front end. So ACF doesn't have that. MetaBox views, again, very powerful. Done a video on that a while ago. If you are comfortable working with code, MetaBox views is a powerful option. And it's something that if you have on your site and you come up against some edge case that's hard to do with like your page builder of choice, MetaBox views is the kind of thing that can bail you out and get you some queries and data and templates that might be hard to get otherwise. I'm a fan anyway, as you can see. Okay, the builder, that's a UI for creating the custom post types and custom fields and custom taxonomies. And I'm going to point out that a difference between ACF and MetaBox is, remember when we were looking at ACF, they had a menu item for creating custom post types, for creating custom taxonomies, and for creating custom field groups. For MetaBox, the core library is free, and the extension to create custom post types and custom taxonomies is free. However, they don't have an extension just for creating the custom field groups. On the MetaBox website, if we flip over there real fast, up here you can use these online generators for generating custom post types, custom taxonomies, and custom field groups, and that gives you the code for that. All right, so it's more code-based, but if you have, like we do in our case, the Pro version, then the builder gives us a UI for those features, okay? So anyway, columns, this is for putting them in a grid, I think in the editor window. Conditional logic, and this is where I'm not sure if this is on the front end or in the admin, because ACF has some conditional logic also, but I think MetaBox possibly has more extensive conditional logic options. Okay, these aren't installed. Okay, geolocation using Google Maps API. MetaBox group will say that we can put things in groups. Include and exclude, this is where I'm talking about the conditional logic, showing metaboxes for who you choose to, and show and hide by page template, post format, or taxonomy using JS. So I think that's not something ACF has. Showing your custom fields in tabs in the editor, MetaBox template, text limiter, MetaBox tooltips. Okay, so like I say, I've probably got some extra things enabled here, but this is my best shot to be apples to apples. I'll save here. And now let's go back to our front end, to the sample page. Okay, we've come down in memory some to 4.9 megabytes and 28 queries. In case you don't remember, here we are at ACF is 5.1 and 25 queries. Okay, so we got a few extra queries with MetaBox, but less memory being used. What we've seen so far is that the Pro version of MetaBox adds more features, But when you have them all turned on, they're going to use more memory and have more queries. Let's keep going. There's one more thing that I want to look at and do. What I'm going to do now is let's go and take a look at the database for ACF and the Meta Box websites. Okay, and then we're going to add a custom field to this page for ACF and Meta Box. For each of those, we'll add the same custom field to both, just a simple test, and render that and see if that makes any difference or changes things. Okay, but first let's go and look at the database before we add the custom field, so then we can compare them afterwards. So let's see, let's go to the database editor. So here's the ACF database, and you'll notice there's no extra tables with ACF at this point, okay? 12 tables. If we look at the posts and we go and select, we can see here it says this is the example page. It's different from a blog post. Okay, so there's the Hello WordPress, Welcome to WordPress post, and here's the page. It's post ID number 2. Okay, now let's go to the post meta. This is where the fields are stored. And we can see post ID number 2. We have one record here in post meta. All right, now let's go back and we will go to the Meta Box database view. And just to keep these separate, I'm going to move this over here. All right, and you notice we get an extra table, Meta Box relationships. So we have 13 tables now. So this table is empty, has 0 rows, but Meta Box will store its post-to-post and post-user and its relationships in a database table. For small, medium amounts of data, it probably doesn't make any difference. If you get into tens of thousands or more records, it could be a performance enhancement to use a separate table. Meta Box is creating this table even though we haven't defined any post relationships. And I actually have looked at these kinds of things with Toolset and Jet Engine and Pods, and they use a table for post relationships also. All of them do. ACF is the only one that's not doing that. And they all create the table when the plugin is activated also. So I think that's probably the practice to create your database tables when you activate the plugin. All right, let's go to the posts. And we have, again, the example page is post ID number 2. Go to the post meta. And here is one record for post ID number 2. So now let's go into the dashboard to ACF field groups. I'm going to create a new field group here. Call it test field group. Okay, and I'm going to create one custom field. It's going to be called test field. Okay, test underscore field is the name. We're not going to worry about default value. Validation here, we don't need to do that. We have presentation, we don't need to worry about where it shows or placeholder text or anything. We don't need any conditional logic, but we do want it to show on pages because we're going to add it to our sample page. Okay, we don't need to worry about the presentation here where the Meta Box, the panel for entering the data is, but we will make sure the REST API is turned on. Just do those the same on both of those. So let's save this now. Let's go to our pages, to our sample page, and we'll see at the bottom here is our test field. Let's enter some text here that'll be the same on both websites. Let's put in, today is Wednesday, we'll put in the day of the week. All right, and we'll save that. Okay, and now I don't think it's going to make any difference, but let's go to the front end and just look here. We're at 5.1 megabytes, 27 queries here. Okay, I'm going to go back and edit this page. People may not realize it, but both ACF and Meta Box have the option to use shortcodes to render your custom fields I think ACF is just kind of simple fields. MetaBox maybe have shortcodes for more complex fields. I'm not sure, but let's add the shortcode block, and we'll put in our shortcode here. I won't need the post ID since we're including this in the page, but the field name was test field. Okay, I'm going to update this, and now when we go to the front end and go to our sample page, we should see there's our custom field rendered on the front end, and we're at 5.1 megabytes and 29 queries. Okay, so that's what we have here with advanced custom fields. Now let's go do the same thing with MetaBox. Here we are on the MetaBox testing site. We'll go and we'll add custom fields. We'll add a new field group, test fields. We're going to add a text field, and this text field is going to be called test field. All right, then we don't need to worry about any of these items here. We don't want to hide it from the REST API. Let's look at the settings. We want post type equals page. We don't need any advanced rules. Let's see. Okay, I don't think we need any advanced rules. These are the things, like the conditional display options here. So I think this is everything we need. Let's publish this. Let's go to our pages, sample page, and we see here's our test field here. We'll put the day of the week in and update and go back to the front end and take a look at the sample page. What we see here now is we have 5 megabytes and 31 queries. Okay, so we'll add the shortcode block. Oops. Okay, so we won't need the post ID there, and the field is called test field. We'll update, and now let's go to the front end, to the sample page. We used 5 megabytes of memory and 31 queries. We've added for ACF and Meta Box a custom field to the page. Let's go back to the database now, and I'm just going to go to posts here, and we see a lot more here. These are probably revisions, but remember ours was post ID number 2. So let's go to the post meta and look for what's been saved in the database. And so post ID number 2, here was the first record, which is what we had. We have this edit lock and edit last. These maybe are transients or something. I don't think they matter much. But then we have here field normally and the field with an underscore in front of it. And that's the way that ACF saves the fields. It saves 2 copies of every custom field. Let's go to the MetaBox one and look at the posts. You see again we have extra posts here which are probably revisions, and the sample page is the post ID number 2. So let's go to the post meta and look here, and here we see that we have the post ID number 2 here before. We have the edit lock and edit last, but we have only one row for the custom field itself. We don't have that second row there like we do with ACF. So when ACF saves the custom field, it puts 2 rows into the post meta table for each field. So I guess there's one more thing I can show you to kind of wrap this up and bring all the points home. We see here that displaying the simple custom field using the shortcode, it uses 5 megabytes for the page and 31 queries. Okay, but if we go back and look at the extensions that we have installed, and we go, what do we need in order to display that custom field? Well, we don't need admin columns, we don't need blocks, we don't need comment meta, we don't need to create a custom post type, don't need rank math or relationships. We might need the REST API. We're not doing a settings or option page or turn meta or use a meta. Don't need columns, conditional logic, group, include, exclude, tabs, template, text limiter, or MetaBox tooltip. Let's see if that custom field is still there. Yep, so our shortcode is still there. And the field is still there. So now let's go back to the sample page. And we look, we've got 4.3 megabytes in usage and 26 queries. Okay, so we reduced the memory and queries by turning off things that we don't need. I'm going to go now, I'm going to pause the video and put all the different numbers into a spreadsheet, and then we can discuss those and have some conclusions. Okay, so be right back in a minute. So what have we learned? We've learned that measuring the free ACF plugin against the free MetaBox Core plugin isn't a valid comparison because ACF is a full-featured plugin, while the MetaBox Core plugin is just a library or a framework base. Not surprisingly, the more features used, then the more resources used, and MetaBox Pro has more features than ACF. When you have a more or less apples-to-apples comparison, MetaBox uses a bit less memory, perhaps a few more queries, and that MetaBox creates fewer records in the post-meta table, but it creates a table that might not be used. It seems pretty close, but I'd give the edge to MetaBox because of the double record thing. Because MetaBox is created in a modular fashion, you have the option with MetaBox to disable features you aren't using. This is big, and it's almost always an advantage, so if you pay attention, MetaBox will often be more performant. Of course, you can always optimize more. Both plugins, for example, give you the option to export to code for a custom plugin, but in this video, I'm showing what you can do through the UI. And note that the larger the site and the more traffic it has, the more these things matter. So this is my comparison of ACF and MetaBox performance. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.